Haven't done a little video in a little while, but working on my wife's Jeep here. We are going to be changing out these, where my hand is, these stock plastic fenders to a steel fender. It's a pretty simple operation if you've never done it before. I'm gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough, and you're gonna need some certain tools that'll make your life much easier. They have what's called a nutsert tool. You can buy them on Amazon. I think they're 25, 30 bucks. I haven't looked. I'll have to look. But that tool is going to be so much easier for this particular job. And the little oh heck, I forget what they're called, but it's a pry tool for prying. Again, we'll get to that. But that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to change out this fender real quick. I'm going to show you it's relatively simple. All right, so I'm going to stop here and go to the next step. This here is the nutsert tool. That's the tool. This is a nutsert. And what happens is you install that into the body of the Jeep. And then the nut screws into that. What the nutsert tool does is it squishes the edge to pinch the body of the vehicle, or sheet metal in general. So, as you can see, the two different nutserts, that's what they look like. So we'll go over that. And this is a pry tool. This is for prying off any body parts. I was using the vice grip to help hold the fender on, and I was using a 10mm socket. It's a very handy tool just to run everything in, and that's the case for the nutsert. Yeah, so what you do, let's see, it's hard to do with hand. You basically open the tool up. This screws on, or when it's in the body of the vehicle, you actually turn this here, and that screws into the nutsert. And when that goes completely flush to that edge, you squeeze these jaws, these handles, and it'll squish the nutsert down and pinch it into the body. It's a very handy tool. But I only have so many of these, so I don't want to destroy this one. And yeah, we'll get to the next step. All right, I got my rag, a little bit of water. Just gonna wipe this down. Next. All right, so I did the other side before I started filming, just to learn real quick what I needed to do. So there's 10 holes here currently. 8 of them we're using. So the very bottom one here and this very bottom one over here we're not using. It's essentially all the upper ones. Now, I also have a Jeep with metal fenders. I bought what I call the Amazon brand, meaning it's not American made, and for some reason, they didn't align all these holes. There was like 2 that were aligned. So I had to drill out where all the holes were supposed to be. Turns out we have, I believe it's Barricade. And when I held it up there, all the holes lined up with the existing manufacturer holes, so it's actually really convenient. So if you have an off-brand from Amazon, there's a good chance you're gonna have to drill the holes out. But for here, you don't have to. So here we have nutsert. We're gonna start the second hole up. You gotta give it a little tap. Goes right in. This one up, little tap. Goes right in, and so forth. So we have 8 nutserts here. I know, it's kind of a funny name. Sometimes they don't grab super tight, like they kind of just go right in, like that one. It's like kind of going in and out. Alright, there's all the nutserts. Now we take the tool. I already pre-tested the squish, what I call the squish. If it's too tight, so there's an adjustment here where this can adjust to different heights. So you're gonna have to mess with one of them, figure out what your squish is, because if it's too tight, you can actually break this threading here. So you open that up, put it on the nutsert, and you turn this end here. Keep going until it's right up against the nutsert. There it is. And then you give it a squeeze. And then undo it. There's one. All done. Let's go right on up to the next one. Squeeze. Take it off. This probably takes the longest, just screwing this in and unscrewing it. And so this one is just kind of floating in the wind there. I might need my glasses for a second. Make sure it isn't spinning. It is spinning. Yep, now it's not. It goes in there tight. Give it a squeeze. Now it's not going to spin anymore. And I will say, I've heard some people do not like these nutserts. I always wondered why. Well, I went to go fix one of my fenders, and the bolt had completely rusted and kind of fused to the nutsert. So as I was pulling the bolt out, the nutsert started to spin, and now it's very hard to get the bolt out. You have to like go in with a grinder and cut it off. And if the fender's still there, it just makes it that much harder. So these nutserts are good and bad, I guess. They're definitely very convenient, but like I said, on my Jeep, when they rust out and the nutsert decides to spin, it's kind of a pain. But we're gonna go ahead and use these anyways. I'm sure there's a way to prevent the rust. Almost forgot. almost there. All installed. Relatively simple. All right, we'll move on to the next thing. All right, here's the fender. Probably weighs 20 pounds. I don't know. It's a little heavy, but I did the other side without any help. It seemed relatively simple. What I did was I kind of held it up, put one bolt in first, and you never tighten your bolts up right away. You get them all in relatively loose. You can make some small adjustments, and then you tighten everything down. But yeah, it's really not that difficult. It is a little heavy. A little wiggle so the bolt wants to go in. There you go. So, got one bolt on. Two. There's three. These ones over here are probably the most precise ones in the back. You gotta make sure they're good. Two more. So everything's just finger tight at the moment. So it's interesting, there's 3 bolts here, but these 3, the cut inside the bolt or in the fender is oblong, so you have the ability to move it up and down. But the rest of them are not oblong, which is, to me, it's a little confusing because it kind of limits your flexibility, so to speak. But maybe these are oblong because different models of Jeeps might have slightly different placement. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what would make sense in my brain. So let's see. I don't think I need. Yeah. That's kind of where it wants to sit. So these flexible socket heads are key to this particular installation because you got limited space to get the socket up inside there. anything super tight just yet. Over here to do yet. Going back and tightening everything up. Let's see. Now, there's a lock washer and then a regular washer. So the lock washer should prevent these bolts from backing out, but if they're not tight enough, they will back out. So. All right, cool. So these are nice because you can actually you can just stand on these. So I'm about 190 pounds. That thing's on there. So not that difficult if you have some mechanical skills. It's not difficult at all. So there it is, rear fender installed.